Welcome to this first tutorial in Level 1 in Brizy for Beginners. I am JP, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this for your website in Brizy. We refer to this kind of image as a hero image. A hero image is something that's quite big. It's usually displayed at the top of a site, and it draws the attention of the audience onto your page. You know, it's like a wow effect. Before we get into that, a quick word on how the tutorials work here at Brizy for Beginners. And that is that we don't spend, well, dialogues and monologues on all kinds of gibberish. We do a very practical hands-on. So from the beginning, we're going to jump in. We're going to show you all the necessary stuff that you need to know. And as you follow through the videos, you will progress to get to that level of master. If you want to jump quickly ahead, you can do that, but I recommend if you are new to the world of WordPress, if you haven't worked with Brizy before, start here, familiarize yourself with it, and get comfortable with it. Because you may think you learned something now, and then you come back after a month or two and you're like, well, I totally forgot everything. Let's go and make this, and I'm going to close this tab, and we are in our WordPress dashboard. Let's create a page. We go to Add New, and we give it a title over here. Now, because this is lesson 1 for level 1, I'm going to call it level 1 so we can differentiate from all the different tutorials. And this will be our first lesson 01. Let's call it hero image. We publish it over here. You click on publish and you click on publish a second time. Now you head over into the Brizy builder by clicking up here that says edit with Brizy. While we are loading the Brizy page builder, just a quick note that Brizy is still in, well, for all intents and purposes, an infant. There are many page builders out there, and Brizy is one of the newest on the market. There's still a lot of changes that will come, so maybe what I show you today, by tonight, it has changed. There is still a lot of things that will change and new things that will come, and as they do, we will update these videos. So here we are. And what you see in front of you is the Brizy page builder. Brizy is built on blocks. And I know that sounds a little bit corny, but that's how it works within Brizy. You do everything within a block. And if you are new, well, there's a big Q in the middle of the page that says, start building your page. So that's exactly where you have to start. Press the button above to add blocks. If you don't have a block, you cannot do anything. So what exactly is a block? Let's click here and then let's see what happens. It opens up this pop-up bar with a lot of pre-made stuff in here. And all of these look like blocks. And that's exactly what we mean by a block. But what we're going to do is go over here and click on add a blank block. And this will give us this default layout. All page builders work with this concept that things are done in a grid. And within the grid, we usually have these sections. This, if you see this white block, is a section. In Brizy, we call it a block. And then within the block, we bring in all those building elements, which will make up that image of our hero image. Currently, what you see here are 2 columns. A blue bounding box like this is a column. So in this block, you get 2 default columns. I want to have only the block and no columns. I go up here to this little blue circle with the white chevron pointing up. When I click on that, it will open up the settings pop-up bar for this column. I want to delete it, so I go here to the bin or the trash can and I click on delete. Now I only have 1 left. I can leave it as is because I need 1 column to work in, but I'm going to go ahead and delete it. From the beginning, I'm going to show you shortcut features in Brizy. And one of those shortcut features is right-click. Whether you're on a Mac or whether you're on Windows, when you right-click with your mouse, there's a contextual menu that will pop up. And this is a very quick way to delete things. And I'm just going to click there, delete. You see that frame has remained, but the blue bounding box has gone away as we have deleted that column. Later on in future tutorials, we will work a lot with columns and columns within rows, and that's the perfect way to build up a very nice looking block. Let's begin with this block and put an image in the block. You will notice up here in the block, there is this little icon with sliders, and these are the settings for the block. When you click on it, there is a slide out toolbar that comes out with all the settings that you will need for this block. The image you will load goes here under background. It looks like a gradient, but it is a background. When you click on it, this new toolbar opens and you will see over here it says image. Click on that and it will open your media library from WordPress. You will upload this image, which you can find in the link on the description below from freepik.com. I clicked on it and then I will choose here in the bottom right hand corner, select. This will now load my image into the block as a background. At this moment, of course, it doesn't look anything like the one that I just showed you at the beginning, but at least it gives us the context as to what colors in the background we are working with. I am going to close now by just clicking outside here, and then we can see the normal view again. One of the very important features you have to learn from the beginning when working on websites is to save it. If you don't save it, you may lose it, and a lot of hard work will go down the drain. In Brizy, you do that by going down to the bottom, here where you see Update in the right-hand corner, and click on Update. One of my favorite shortcut keys for any update is Control or Command S. And this is something that I will just do naturally while I am working. So if I leave the mouse cursor outside and I press on my keyboard Control S, you will see the little spinning wheel will come up and it will save that. Let's go and view this page currently, how it will display on the front end for a visitor that comes to your site. To do that, here at the same toolbar, you click on this one that says Preview. Now it will open a new tab in your web browser and you can see how it will currently display. Well, this is nothing like the one that we are busy with at the moment. And the reason for that is there is actually nothing inside this block yet. So your website doesn't read it as having anything in it. And it looks like this. Very gnarly, and we will fix that. But that's how it currently looks. We want to bring in the title, and then we want to bring in a subheading. To do that, we bring in a text element that will allow us to make our text. Inside this block, you click here on the plus, and this will open the sidebar on the left, and it will tell you to add elements. We want to bring in this text element. You click and hold, and then drag it and drop it. So it's a drag and drop builder. Now we go to one of the nice features within Brizy that allows you to do everything as you see it in front of you. Click within this text box and then highlight the text to get rid of it. For me, again, a shortcut key on Windows is Control A, on Mac it's Command A. So I click on Control and A and it highlights everything. And then I can just easily type over that Janae and Yaku. We begin styling it by going to the toolbar up here, and on the T, which is typography, which is a big word for font, you click on that. Here you will find all the fonts that you can use. I'm going to scroll down until I see this one that says Great Vibes and click on it. Let's increase the size of that, and I'm going to increase it, and you can do it like this, or you can just type in a number. I'm going to type in a number. I double click in there to highlight it, and then type in 100, and zoop, it will go up to 100. I'm going to reduce the line height. The line height is that spacing that you see in the top of the box between the letters. I'm just going to make it 1, so we work with the basic line height. It cannot go below 1. You can try and type below 1, but it will remain at 1. And that's all we want to do for the font. Let's go next to the color. Color is found right next to the typography. Click on it. Your color manager here allows you to go around and choose the colors that you would like to apply to this text. You can see over here, you can do that. And then this bar on the right will allow you to reduce the opacity, increase the transparency of your text. Down here is a color palette that you can choose from, preset colors that you would like to use. But of course, many of us in website design, we like to be specific. We have a specific color in mind, something that will match the layout of our page. And for that, we use a color code. I'm going to go down here where you can see there's a code, double click on it to highlight it, and then use this code, 5F3D31. And it gives me, well, what is that? Brown, dark crimson. And the reason I chose this color is that it can match the color of this image. I'm just going to highlight it, and then I'm going to copy it, Control-C, Command-C, because later I'm going to use this color again. And now we have the color. And that is all you need to do. Our title looks very nice. It brings in the name, very elegant, of the couple that is getting married. Now I want to give it a byline or a subheading, and to do that I bring in a second text element. For this you go here to the sidebar, up here where you see the plus and it says Add Elements. Click on it and then go again and drag and drop. When you bring it over here, before you drop it, you will see that these gray lines appear. Wherever you see the thick gray line, that is where the element will be dropped. It's a very nice visual display and it leads you into the placement of that element. I want to leave it here below Janae and Jaco, so I drop it here. And now we go through the same process again. The text that you see here is, well, placeholder text. You don't want to display that on your site. So I'm going to click on it, Control-A to highlight it all, and then type in capitals, are getting married. Let's go style it, click on typography, and we look for a font that's nice and clean, and also, yeah, Open Sans. Click on that. And we are going to also decrease our line height, make it 0. And I'm going to increase my letter spacing to give it more of a visual impact, up to 5.5, and make it a little bit bigger, I think around 22. That's what I was playing with. Let's go to the color, and I can click directly on colors. And because I copied that color that we had used in the title, I'm going to double click here, Control-Command-V to paste it, and it gives us the same color. Nicely done. The one thing as a designer is that I like things to be aligned. Now you will think it is aligned, but you see the G here, right? That G, if you drag a line down, it's not exactly where the A starts. And I want this body of the G to align with the A. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this entire sentence, are getting married, a little bit into the right. Now, when you are working within this container, you can see these little dotted lines, and you'll often hear me refer to that as a container. Inside this element container, I want to add a little bit of space here. Whenever you hear me talk about that, and we talk about space inside a container, we are referring to padding. And you will find that sitting here. Go to Settings, More Settings. And then here on the right, you will see padding. Let's have a look at what padding does. If you grab this slider here and you drag it to the right, you will see that there is more space applied both on the left, top, bottom, and even on the right. Because there's nothing here, you cannot see it at the moment. If I keep dragging it all the way to 100, you can see a lot of space has been added inside to all the sides. And we know that because if you look here at this blue highlighted icon, it shows you this little bounding box, which is the container. All 4 sides have been selected. Let's take it back all the way to 0. I only want to add space on the left. To do that, I select this one. And this will delink all the sides, and I can work with them now individually. To add that little bit of space on the left, I go to this one, which will allow for left padding. Grab the slider and just drag it slightly. You can see how it's moving. Just a little bit, so that this A aligns with the curve of the G. I know that's petty, but these are the things I care about. Good. And that's how we give padding inside an element. Another thing I want to do is I want to move this subhead a little bit more to the top so it can be closer to the main heading. Whenever we are talking about moving an element closer or further away from another element, we refer to that space as margin. It's oversimplified, but this will help you to understand that when we are talking about the space between two elements here, we look at the margins. So with the More Settings panel still open, we go down here to Margin, and we want to work with the top margin. So you can see here highlighted is the top margin, and we will decrease, not increase, decrease it because we're moving it closer to the element above. So let me show you what happens if I drag it all the way down, you see? And if I drag it up, so we are increasing and decreasing the space between this element and the element above. Like I said, a little bit oversimplified, but it will help you to understand where we are going with this. That is too much. So where are we now? Let's go down a little bit like this. Good. What is that? We are at 0. So it started off at 10 because in Brizy, they apply a default margin to all elements of 10 and 10. You can see even here at the bottom, we just want to put that on 0. There we go. And we are done now with our text, our heading text and our subheading text. So let's just click here or anywhere and it will get rid of all those pop-up menus. We save, Control-Command-S, and let's go view it on the front end by going down to the bottom right-hand corner and click here on Preview. So far, so good, but also so ugly because we don't see their heads. And in fact, when I look at this photo, I wonder if they had to get married because the guy looks a little bit pregnant to me. Let's close this and go back into the builder and see what we can do to increase the space at the top and the bottom so it looks a little bit more presentable and we can see the couple better. I'm going to show you first a very traditional way of doing this, and there's nothing wrong with it. I still do it a lot. But then after that, I'm going to show you one of, well, the things I actually learned from Brizy and which I like doing. So let's start off with the more traditional way. This is a block. We want to add spacing within the block. Every time we work within a container, we talk about padding. So we go to the block settings by clicking on this icon, settings over here, and then more settings. And here we see padding again. Now the padding applied for the block is only top and bottom. If I delink them over here, you will see I can only do top and bottom. So let's keep them linked by clicking on this one on the left and increase it like this. Now it will be applied both at the top and the bottom. Let's say that is good enough at 157 pixels. And we're going to leave it there at 157 pixels. Brizy also allows you to drag it right within the block. So if you go into the block and you click there and you hover at the top, you will see this blue bar appears. And this will also give you the settings. I think it's 167, not 157. If you click and hold and drag, you can also now apply padding. Now you're only applying it to the top. So let's then move it down to 150 there, something like that. There. And we go to the bottom and you'll see also a blue bar appears here and we can increase it and we're going to apply also 150 pixels down here. If you cannot get that exact number, which I'm trying to, then you have to go into the settings and apply it there. Again, I want to say this is a very traditional way of doing it and a way we still do it. But within Brizy, I've started to adopt a new style, and it's something that many people, when you do it, you get used to it, you really begin to love it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it down again here, just to a space like this, and I'm going to bring in a spacer. Now a spacer is also an element, and you find it under Elements by going to the left, click on Add Elements, and over here you will see the spacer. Drag and drop it, and as I bring it in here, you can see all the different areas you can drop it. I'm going to drop it here at the top, and you will see space being added when I drop it. Whoop. Now you see that container, but it's not only just a container, it has some settings. Click within it, and then the toolbar will appear up here. If you click on the settings, you will see that now you have control here over how much space you want to apply in pixels. And pixels is the basic measurement unit for resolution for screens and website making. There's a few others, but pixels the most standard. So let's increase this. Let's say we want to put it at 100, and you can also type in 100. The next thing I'm going to do is apply space also at the bottom. But why go through the whole process again of add, click and drag when I can just duplicate? Go back to the spacer element, click on it, and up here you will see the duplicate button. When you click on it, you get a twin brother. Now I need to drag this second one to the bottom. You do that by click and hold and drag. Don't let go, and you will see that blue little circle, and it will show you everywhere you can drop it. We drag it to Are Getting Married or below Are Getting Married and drop it. Now you have a spacer here and you have a spacer there. I want to leave this hero image at this size. The problem I face is that I still cannot see their faces. It looks strange. One of the most functional features in Brizy is the following, and that allows us to center the focus of this image as we please. Go to the block, click on the icon, and then we go back to where we had loaded the image in the background. Here you see a thumbnail display of the image, and within this you see this little blue dot. And this is the focus area. I'm going to click and move this dot around. And now you can see if I drag it all the way to the bottom, every time that this image is loaded, it will load this part of the image and focus on the bottom part. Actually, this doesn't look bad, right? This is sort of mysterious. You know there's a wedding going on here. But okay, let's go and do what we said we're going to do. We want to focus on their faces. So I drag it up here. So it doesn't matter whether this image will be displayed on a cell phone, a tablet, or what kind of resolution screen. It's always going to make sure that their faces stay there and can be viewed very easily. Let's click outside it. Let's save it, Control S. And then we preview it again to see how it looks now and if it looks anything like we did at the beginning. Yippity-doo yay, Janae and Yaku, you guys are looking good and ready to hook it up. Let's close it. 5 years ago, the next step of this tutorial would have been inconceivable. People would not have even thought about it. But in the last few years, it's become staple, fundamental, and you need to do it every time that you have finished a block or you have finished a site. And that is to test for responsiveness, mobile first. What does this mean? This means that when you open this image on a cell phone, it's going to look different. It's not going to look the way you would like it to look. The problem that we have as developers and designers is that we are used to making it look good on a PC screen. And it looks majestic, it looks magnificent, but we forget that more than 50% of people nowadays, they access websites first via their cell phones, and it's more than 50% doing so. For this, page builders include responsiveness features that allow you to go and check how this site will look on various devices. And Brizy is no different. It is something we will do in every tutorial, and you should kick yourself in the butt if you forget, because it can really affect the interactiveness of your site and the enjoyment of visitors when they come to this site. On the left, here in the sidebar, go down where you see this little screen. This indicates to you that currently you are viewing the page builder within the desktop view. If you click on it, it's going to give you the options to view it as a desktop, a tablet, or a mobile. The next one we will then look at is tablet. So click on it and you will see it will do this. Now the problem with this is I think this is way too close to the left. I don't like it like that. So what we are going to do is we are going to style it now in this view, and it will apply only to tablets. So we click here, and then you see settings up here. And then we are going to apply space on the left, because we want to move the entire text to the right. So we want to put space inside this element, which is padding. More settings, go to the padding here, and we increase it like this. The problem is it's a little bit over our arm. It doesn't look that good. Well, what we can do is we can reduce the size of the text. So go over here to the typography, click on it, and then we reduce the size. Let's see how that looks. Looks better. The same for Are Getting Married. Click on Are Getting Married. Let's also apply the padding by clicking on Settings, More Settings, and then we move it. And I'm not checking even over here the pixels. What I'm doing is I'm gauging it with my eye. You know, it's not a precise science as much as I want it to be. There we go, a little bit like that. Okay, now I'm just going to click in here with my cursor, and then with the arrow keys on your keyboard, I'm going to increase it to 49. Let's see. 48. 48 is going to be perfect. Up and down. The other thing I'm going to do is go to typography for this element, and I'm going to reduce the letter spacing. So let's make that a little bit smaller, like that, at 8. Good. Let's see how that looks. Much better. Did it change anything in the desktop view? Let's go view it. Go to the bottom left, click here, and then desktop view. And you see nothing has changed. We've only changed it here for our tablet view. Then the most important one, which is mobile. Click here on mobile. And for mobile, no, it's not working. The Are Getting Married, I can still live with that. But I think here, this one, we need to make it smaller. Let's click here on Janae and Yaku, and I'll show you what I'm going to do here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the font a little bit smaller. So around here. And I want, yep, just like that. But it doesn't look good, right? But watch what I'm going to do next. I'm going to apply space here on the right that will force Yaku to go to the second break. So go here to Settings, More Settings, and I'm going to apply that space inside the element, which means padding. I'm going to do it on the right. So this is what I'm going to do. And there we go. Do you see what I did? Okay. Does it look good? What about this Are Getting Married? Does it look bad? I think it looks okay. We can get away with that. But because this is a cell phone display, I would like it to be a little bit more taller. And for that, I'm going to grab our spacer elements. And with the spacer element, I can actually just grab this little blue dot here and drag it like this. And at the bottom, I'm going to do the same and drag it like that. Well, we still have to keep that. Okay, so there we leave it like that. Otherwise, we mess it up with our hair. Let's see if anything changed on the tablet. Nope. And anything changed on the desktop? Nope. And there you have it. That is your first hero image that you've built here within Brizy. Before you exit, you have to remember to save, Control S. Otherwise, you're going to exit, you're going to come back, and it's all lost, and it's going to be crocodile tears for you. This is JP here with Brizy for Beginners.